My name is Mara too, and I am an Associate Project Manager here at the Allston-Brighton Community Development Corporation, and I work on the real estate team.
I'm Caitlin Robillard. I'm the Director of Real Estate Development at Allston-Brighton CDC.
What is a deep energy retrofit?
A deep energy retrofit is a rehab approach which will reduce energy costs by a lot.
It can look like many things in a combination of clean energy technology, having a really highly super insulated envelope, and also including a lot of these energy efficient technologies and forms.
Typically, a deep energy retrofit will reduce a building's energy usage by at least 50%. A lot of folks have heard of a retrofit, and that is more about upgrading your lighting or replacing the motors in your HVAC equipment. But a deep energy retrofit is much more expansive. That scope of work will typically include major replacements to the envelope and the systems. So for us, that means new windows, doors, roof.
How can deep energy retrofits positively impact the residents that live in these properties?
There are lots of positive impacts for our residents.
They come with clean energy, electrifying units, and also having super insulated envelopes.
First and foremost, what we're doing is we're putting in heat pumps, which provide all electric heating and cooling. And for all of our properties, this is the first time that we are offering now centralized air conditioning.
Before deep energy retrofits, a lot of them are controlled by the property manager, and residents don't really have control over their own environments.
Second is all of our retrofits include fresh air ventilation, which of course we know now is very important, vitally important given what happened with COVID.
The ventilators will also provide fresh air for residents, which is really important. Living in a city with a lot of different pollutants in the air, having these fresh air ventilators are really important, I think, for having a clean environment at your home.
And the last one that I would want to emphasize is the positive impact of just experiencing thermal comfort. So with an entirely new building envelope and these all-electric systems, folks should feel comfortable in all seasons.
For example, at Hano Homes right now, in the winter, sometimes it's too hot for people and they fully have AC units running, which is a huge waste of energy and also doesn't make sense at all in the winter. So something like a deep energy retrofit would really provide a lot of climate comfort and control over their own environments for residents. On a larger scale, everything that we're doing with a deep energy retrofit and reducing carbon emissions and increasing energy efficiency, I think are part of this larger picture and us playing a smaller scale on addressing climate change, and especially because residential CO2 usage kind of makes up about 20%, I think, of greenhouse gases in the United States. So we are playing a small role in hopefully mitigating the impacts of climate change. And we already know that climate change impacts marginalized communities at a disproportionate rate. And so hopefully with this, we are addressing it and then also providing this clean energy and green energy resources directly to community members themselves.
What is one of the most challenging aspects of pursuing and implementing a DER?
The most challenging part for us is money. So on average, a deep energy retrofit costs $100,000 to $150,000 more per unit than a traditional rehab.
And so that's a large gap in funding.
So this means it takes a lot of public and private resources to make these projects financially feasible.
It is really exciting to be working at ABCDC during this time, in Boston specifically, because there is so much grant money that is going out for electrification and energy efficiency, maybe not specifically DER, but all of these things that DERs try to encompass.
While there are some great resources out there right now to tap into, they're all on different schedules and with varying requirements. So at a minimum, it takes 2 years to put together all the funding that's necessary for these projects.
Chasing after those grants and trying to piece them together and making this work has been really exciting. And I think a lot of people do want to be part of this process in having DERs in the Boston area.
During that time, of course, the cost for labor and materials and interest rates are still rising, so it feels like we are constantly trying to close on our final gap funding.
I think another issue or obstacle that's in the way is finding contractors and partners who have expertise in DERs because they're relatively new and because there are so many people who exist out there who know like kind of the old ways of how to retrofit buildings. It is kind of hard to find experts in this field.
What would you say to someone who is questioning if green energy retrofits and other measures are worth it?
I have a favorite cartoon / comic strip that can really sum my answer up in one photo. Climate Summit. What if it's a big hoax and we create a better world for nothing? And on the board is like, we create energy independence, we preserve rainforests, we have sustainability, we have green jobs, livable cities, renewable energy, clean air, healthy children. It's basically saying that outside of addressing climate change, outside of getting clean energy, this deep energy retrofit, I think, provides control over people's climate in their homes, clean air, fresh air. I think there's a lot of benefits outside of just this larger goal of addressing climate change that are super important and definitely worth it.
Why is it so important to tie together the environmental movement with affordable housing efforts?
It's super important because ultimately with affordable housing, we are dealing with incredible inequities in terms of income and also access to housing. And as we know, with environmental issues and environmental justice, where you live really impacts how your environment, how the environment and clean air, clean water, etc. impacts you, and also a lot of the health issues that might come up later in life. And so with housing and affordable housing, I think it is so important to not only prioritize environmental justice communities, but also to prioritize making sure the homes and the houses that people are living in affordable housing are safe and also are part of the clean energy movement and also all of the work that we're doing to combat climate change. This specifically is and all the funding that is going into DER specifically is a super important bridge between the two issues.
How can people support DERs and other efforts to decarbonize housing in their communities?
The big one is advocacy, so reaching out to your local politicians. There's a lot of money that goes out to municipalities for even doing this work.
There's a lot that folks can do. I think first just voicing their support for decarbonization resources and regulations. So contacting their local officials, getting to the polls.
I think another way that you can also be engaged with this work in your community is actually see what organizations are looking into deep energy retrofits, clean energy, and kind of just follow them in their newsletters, kind of just know what like the newest updates are, just so you know if they need people to support them, and if they need volunteers or anything, you're there when they need them.
Something like the City of Boston's Building Emission Reduction and Disclosure Ordinance, or BERDO, really would not have passed if residents hadn't voiced their support for it. So what BERDO now does for large building owners is they are required to report their building's energy usage each year, and they have to hit certain benchmarks to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions, and if they don't, they're facing a fine.
Especially after doing this work, I realized that my own home was definitely not as energy efficient as it could be, and it also definitely was, I was using and producing more carbon than I needed to be. So looking at your own home and seeing maybe if you own your home, looking into ways to really highly use energy efficiency or completely electrify your home, that could be really useful. Or if you rent, maybe just talk to your landlord or see there's different opportunities for landlords to actually reach out and get free money on weatherizing their own homes. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, so feel free and Google away.
Why are you so passionate about this work?
There are so many large and small random reasons why, but I think a lot of it comes down to I care a lot about people and I care a lot about justice. And I think a lot of the work that we're doing is really geared towards and aiming towards helping people have access to clean, safe, affordable housing, and while also addressing the larger picture of climate change and sustainability. So yeah, I'm really excited to be doing this work, to be constantly learning, to be around really admirable, passionate people as well. So yeah, I love what I do.